Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Chatty Kathy here. So the other day I saw someone who was new on one of the groups I'm in ask a question about using playing cards. And I thought that was actually a good video to show because they wanted to know what they could do with their playing cards. And the difficulty they were having was, of course, the shiny surface. Now these are not super shiny, but they still are somewhat shiny. So of course you can rough them up with sandpaper and if you're trying to make them look vintage, but that's just a lot of work. I've done that. I've taken the sandpaper to them and in the past and roughed it up, and there's just a way easier way. So I thought I'd show that today, and then a couple of options on how you can actually decorate them, and then you can decide, if you want to do the sanding, you do the sanding, but it's nice to have a quicker way. So through the magic of television, I have some semi-prepared pieces to make this video shorter. Okay, so what I did first was I took one of the cards and I put a very light wash of white acrylic paint. Now I used some cheap kids paint because I wanted it to have that grainy texture, and this is actually very grainy, and I think you can see it's really dull. That's just one light coat, so you're still seeing the characters through the paint, but it's there's no more of that shininess. It's very dull, and you can feel it's kind of rough. So that's what you want to rough it up. So that's the first step. And then of course you need to, what we're trying to do is create a grungy look. And so this is only part way through the process, but I wanted to show you step by step. So what I did after that was I just used glue stick and I glued these face down on some old book page. So here we have it, two different kinds. This is kind of a bit thicker, but they're yellowed to a, almost a similar shade, which I love. This is from a Shakespeare book, and this is just a piece out of a Reader's Digest collection. So once you glue them down, the face down with the side you painted, of course this side nothing's happened to it yet, but we'll get to that. So what you want to do then is let it dry, and with glue stick it's not going to take that long. And then you've got a corner usually that you didn't glue down all the way, so you're going to take that and you're just going to rip it off. Okay, and you get varying results, but this is good. This is what we want. We want this messiness here, this jagged messiness where some of the text is showing clearly and some of it is not. And then we've got this dangly piece, so we're just going to rip again, keep ripping. So I have another little bit here that I could rip some more, or I could just leave it as it is. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave that like that. So as you can see, I did the same thing, but I've got two different looking results. And it wouldn't matter how many times I rip these, I'm going to get different results. And it can relate to how well you glued them, how long you left them to dry. Now this one to me is a bit much, but that's okay because I can sand some of that off if I want to, or I can sit here and pick at it until I reveal more of the card, but that's not bothering me. So there's another one. And we're not done. We're going to do something else to them too. But I think you get the idea. So I'm not going to spend any more of this video time ripping off the other four here. Maybe one of them just to show you how different paper produces a different result. So you see, this Shakespeare paper was really, it's very light. So it didn't, there's a little strip there and a strip there, but I like that too. I like both of them. And for what we're going to do to them, it doesn't really matter how much we got. Okay. So I'm going to set that aside along with my book pages, and we'll move on to the next step. So this doesn't look vintagey yet. I mean, it looks grungy a bit, but it's not. We can't really say yet that it's vintage. We want to yellow it somehow, make it more yellow. And so there's a number of things we can do. So here I have some tea bag papers. Okay, these were tea bags, and I took them apart and emptied the tea out. You know, my son drank it, and you can see the fold lines and the tea stains in it, but it's lovely. So, you know, and they're nice and big, so we could actually cover one with that. That's one option. Another option would be to use a piece of napkin. So these are kind of white. Let's see what we have for napkin options that would be good. I like that, but it's also white. The roses are pretty. That's pretty too. This one produces a really good result. Let's try a piece of that one. It doesn't look very vintagey, but we'll do something to try and make it that way. These are kind of, these are so seasonal. I'm not going to use those. All right. So we're going to use a napkin. And I know I have pieces somewhere, but I don't remember where. That's okay. We'll just start with a new one. Does everybody know how to separate the backs from their napkins? Because if you don't, you're about to learn. Where's my tape? Ah, yes. Don't get rid of that. There are multiple purposes for those. And not just as cleaning rags either, because that's not very interesting. Oops. We only need a little piece, so the fact that I approach this like a bull moose doesn't really matter. That one I'll get rid of. Okay, and I'll be able to use this one. So just need a little water. Okay, get rid of the rest of you. So we've got a piece of tea bag, we've got a piece of napkin. There's two ways we're going to cover. And then the third way will be sewing pattern paper, because it's already nice and brownish. Okay, so let's get busy and do that. I'm going to use, because this is already brown, I don't really need an agent to make it brown, so I can use my mixture of PVC and water, which is what I'm going to do. I think this is 3 to 1. I know a lot of people do 2 to 1. I'm not real. I've gotten different results. I could pull out a pure thing of Mod Podge and do it with that. That would be fine too. But for now, we're just going to do it this way. Decent coating all over it. It shouldn't do anything to move your white paint. Now my finger did, because I touched it. I actually started to lift the white acrylic paint that I had done earlier. So let's just be random. Now, if you don't like the volume or the quantity of book page that stuck to the card after ripping it off, that's fine. Do it again. And just don't put glue on that part of the card. Put it elsewhere, stick it on book page again and rip again. Or if you wanted to target a certain area of the card, and you could do that and get a result that you want. I like the randomness, so I'm not unhappy about that. So let's set that one aside. And then we'll put the napkin on this one. Actually, for this one, I might use a stained glue. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So this one is just clear glue because I had a ton of it with some vintage photo re-anchor. And I don't really want to stick my brush in there. See, you can see that's making my card look like I've got some tea I'm smearing on it. The whiteness is already brown. And I didn't use a ton. You saw what I used. Just feel like a little bit more would be good. Sorry guys, I have to clean as I go or that would just distract me the entire time. That is my curse. I try to avoid that part at the top where the manufacturers, the way they get them to stick together, there's like some texture in there. I like to avoid that if I can. I feel like this one's going to rip easily. Resist the urge in the beginning to try and get perfection when you decoupage like this. Because I did that. I was like, oh, there's a wrinkle. And I let it drive me crazy. And then I just realized eventually that it's supposed to look old. And if it really were old, it wouldn't be perfect. So why start out trying to make it look perfect? It's counterproductive to our goal. All right. Oh, stupid. Look at that. Oh, lunkhead. Okay, there we go. All right, well, I'll put you over here. And then, okay, so I'm not sticking that in. I'm not mixing my two concoctions here. So now let's take, I like this one. Let's take this one and do the tea bag. This time we'll use the white because we've already got brown color in this. I am going to go over that napkin one again with the colored glue, but I just want to give that napkin a break for a minute. I feel like it was tortured enough. Now I realize that it appears I'm being wasteful with this tea bag and that I could have actually targeted the corner and saved a bunch of the side of it. And yep, I surely could have. But I really, I'm getting some of the coloring from the center. And also, if you drank as much tea as we do in this house, you'd realize that there's no end to these bags. There's like plenty more where this came from. right, this works out the best. This one is like, I'm not going to say flawless because nothing's truly flawless, but yeah, these tea bags are tough. So that one always gets a good result. So of course these need to dry. So the total end of the process, I didn't do one to show you a dry one, but all you're going to do when this dries is you can either cut it or you could sand it with your emery board or with actual sanding paper, and you could sand it off because you also want an edge that's rough. These are perfect right now. Perfectly lovely, which kind of it flies in the face of the vintage appearance we're trying to achieve. So even if you want to distress it up with a distress tool to make the edges look, you know, gnarly or grungy, you can certainly do that too. So, you know, you can cut it away or you can file it away, sand it away. Whoa, look at, she does it again. Huh. Dense, irritating beast of burden. Okay. So, oh yeah, which was which? Let's cover those up a bit. I want to go over this one again. See, I see a little bit of the card, the 5, the clubs. Of course you see the flowers, but you have a little bit of the brownness, the aged look under it. And then of course, when I sand off or file off the rest of the napkin, I'm going to use vintage photo on the edges, and I'm going to rough it up a bit so it's not going to look all nice and even. That's pretty good. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop the video there, and then I'll come back with a part 2 when they're dry. Okay, guys? So there's your 3 ways that you can cover those cards. You're going to paint them, give them a whitewash first. The cruddiest paint you have is good because you want a texture. Then you're going to glue them to a piece of book page, just like that. Remember? Face down with the white paint on the paper, and then you're going to rip them off like I showed you, and you're going to get varying degrees of book page stuck to the card, and then you're going to cover over. And we showed 3 options. We showed tea bag, dress pattern, and napkin. So when they're dry, we'll see what they look like, and I'll file one for you. Okay? So bye for now.